Well, good evening and welcome to the IslandStats.com English Football and Bermuda Overseas Players Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me is co-host Antoine Augustus as well as juggling Jason. Gentlemen, good evening. First of all is well?
Good evening.
Yes,
Everything's good.
Uh, being that I'm going to start with this conversation because um, just today it was revealed that the referee who's been entangled in a whole bunch of stuff going on in English football has been relieved of all duties. But to tell you the truth, it's not a shocker. It's just been officially announced today.
Yep, that's official. That's official.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna let you guys swing at that first.
well, I'll say I wasn't shocked because obviously with all the noise that it was making around the media circuit, something had to be done. Something had to be done.
Yeah.
And I think the more they went digging, the more they was able to find more evidence of things that referees shouldn't be doing. They
Yeah.
mentioned something about substance abuse during the one of the major tournaments this year. I'm like, man, so if you got somebody that has a substance abuse problem,
Mm-hmm.
and anything's possible, we could sit here thinking in a rational mind, but we
Yeah.
know substance abuse will alter minds, and it could be something totally different. So I don't want to speak too much on something that I really don't have too much information on. But
Yeah.
a surprise today, not really.
No.
Yeah. That,
What the one thing I am surprised at is the fact that he didn't just resign after the second lot of allegations came up of the drug use because they had him in the video of talking, and then they had a video of him with the drugs, and I'm like, okay, at what point in time do you finally say, you know what, yeah, check your eyes later?
no, and that's correct because honestly, when I heard about the drug use, I as a referee should have just been just say, you know what, forget it. Like that's my career, that's my life. I'm done because
Yeah.
it's it has no room for it in sports period to be
Yeah.
doing that type of drugs. Player, no player, player, coach, anybody, referee is not, you know, it's not a place to have. It's like it's not a place to have it in sports. So
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly, I'm just like you said, I'm shocked that he hasn't didn't resign when that came out.
The only thing that is probably frustrating to teams is that there's no repercussions for his bad actions
That's
Correct.
right.
as far
That's
as the
right.
team is concerned, as far as
Yeah.
results, right? And Earl, I don't know. I mean, even Antoine, you guys remember with the PEDs in baseball, right?
Right.
Talked about with the Barry Bonds and all those different situations.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
How do the team suffered from whatever the allegations were? Now, mind
Yeah.
you, somebody wasn't found guilty per se, but what I'm
Right.
saying is
Right.
that
Yeah.
the outcome of those decisions
Mm-hmm.
affected teams, affected
Teams.
purpose,
Yeah. Yeah.
affected money, affected placing,
Mm-hmm.
and who knows what these decisions this year, what it's going to do on this league, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going forward. So as far as championship, money, Champions League money, um, relegation, you name it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, we saw coaches get fired.
That's
so,
right. That's right. That's
so
right. So there'll be a lot of clubs looking back at their games in which he officiated and questionable calls. No, what can be done about it? Probably nothing. But they'll argue a point that he could have been under the influence during the game, and what's the repercussions? Do we start testing? Do we start testing officials like we test the players? Because we all remember that Rio Ferdinand's suspension came up where he docked out of being tested
mhm,
at Manchester United,
yeah.
Hmm.
knowing that they were coming for him.
Yeah. I honestly, and like you're saying, like, you would have to go back, not even just club, but as far as countrywide. how many times he's refereed, and this was the tournament. This was a tournament that he was caught with the video
Yeah.
of doing the drugs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the repercussions of it's very it's a long list.
Yeah.
It's a very long list of now. Like you said, was he in the influence the game that I had? Was he influenced that I played
Mm-hmm.
in,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, should I have won that game? All that stuff goes through the heads of the technical directors and sports directors and everybody,
Yeah.
and even the league itself. Honestly, I can't put this in the same category as match fixing, but I think it's a little close, honestly.
Mm.
I can.
The next step is though official is match fixing, because if you're under the influence, then you start to fix the match the way somebody that you're doing this stuff with could possibly start getting into your head and saying, "Hey, look, next time you're doing this sensors game, then you know."
No, I agree, right? But I'm just saying, as far as like criminal wise, as far as charges for him, that's match
Okay.
fixing,
Yeah.
and as far as drugs, you don't want match fixing, and have drugs charges all on top of you. Like that's a you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
I'm just looking as far as how much charges and how much he has to go through. Like,
Right.
yes, he has to go through a lot because he won't be able to walk around London or wherever he is, Newcastle, wherever he is, and be that same person.
Well,
I would
he
love to hear
can.
from him though. I
Yeah.
would love to
That's
hear
a
Yeah.
good question. That's a good. That's
Yeah.
a good. Yeah. Yeah.
It, yeah. Yeah. Let's hope that he does bounce back from it, personally, and allows himself to become a upstanding citizen, and put all that behind him, because that part, like you said, that part of his career is done in that part. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I do want to inform our viewers that when we get to the part of the overseas players and coaches, we're going to have David Bascom joining us at the top of the hour, to talk about his season opener, where the Baltimore Blast defeated Harrisburg Heat last night 8-6. But the first part of the show, we're going to give you the rundown of the results from this past weekend. As we know, Everton and Liverpool was postponed, and then it was Brentford 4, Newcastle 2, Aston Villa 1, Southampton 0, Crystal Palace 2, Manchester City 2, Manchester United 2, Nottingham Forest 3, Fulham 1, Arsenal 1, Leicester City 2, Brighton Hove Albion 2, Ipswich Town 1, Bournemouth 2, Tottenham 3, Chelsea 4, and then this afternoon it was West Ham United 2, Wolves 1. So let's quickly jump right into this early games. The Brentford Newcastle. Newcastle, again, they have this abundance of funds under this new owner, but it just they have a record of 5 wins, 5 draws, and 5 losses in their last 5 games. 2 losses, 2 draws, and a win. It's just not working for them.
Well, I mean, I think they're just where they are. I think very similar with United, right? Where they have a bunch of players that they have been suffering some injuries in very critical areas for them, and they just haven't found the right pairings.
Right.
And that's why both of them are probably basically identical. The league standing identical records, right? United's 5 wins, 4 draws, 6 losses, right?
Yeah.
They're 1 point behind, but they're very, very unpredictable on the day. They could probably have moments. I think both teams will have moments, but they can't put a whole complete game together, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And a team like Brentford, who are making noise in the league because they're pulling off some big wins here and there. They're up to 9th place in their last 5 games. Only 1 loss, 3 wins, and a draw. So up to 9th with 23 points. You know, then in Fulham, and even Bournemouth. I mean, gosh, I remember, when we get to them, Brighton Hove Albion, Juggler. When we first would have started watching big league soccer, Brighton Hove Albion was a big club in England.
Yep.
Then they suffered for years in the lower leagues. Now they're back and in the top 10 in the English Premier League. How those old folks who are still around to see Brighton Hove Albion where they are today must be something of take me back to memory lane for them.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Some of them probably be a little bit frustrated, right? I think Antoine probably back me up on this. The last few years, they've been the feeder team to a lot of these teams in the league, right? I mean, even coaches, they lost their coaches to top teams, they lost players to top teams, and are still able to manage to. I mean, it's got to be hats off, and probably a good look at what their academy system is, because they're producing and recruiting players, and still, now becoming a formidable team that's not going up and down. You pretty much last couple of years you can say Brighton's going to be a mid-table team.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the top of the table, and let's go to the last few games of Man City. Another draw, this time with Crystal Palace. In their last few games, they've had 3 losses, a win, and a draw. They're going through something, but they're trying to keep it together off the field, so it don't get out into the public. But clearly, something's going wrong at the club. What do you think it is, Juggler?
All right, well, a couple of things. For me, it's the world's best player last year. He's not playing.
Yeah, he's out for the season.
He's out for the season. You take the world best player to any team to turn us off. I'm sorry to say it, guys. It's simple as that. One of the strikers that you hung on to this year, right? You hung on to, and Phil Foden. I don't think he scored a goal yet. And De Bruyne's been out. So just those 3 alone, they're still trying to find out what the left winger, he's got potential. He's one who's been playing a lot in front of Phil Foden, but sometimes Foden's coming from the other side. But they really haven't. Haaland hasn't really had the service, and I think this is where it's probably, Bernardo Silva. He's a year older. I watched him sort of struggle the other day, just get up and down.
Yeah.
Box to box, and with your strikers not really striking. City was really good out of possession of especially high press and getting the ball back. Don't see much of that from City right now. You don't.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Antoine?
City, I don't know. I'm trying to see what's their average of ages, because they are not, they're of age.
It's simple.
13.
Old.
Yes.
Old.
Yeah.
Kyle Walker,
They probably introduced maybe 10 players in the last couple of years that they were winning. So the nucleus of the team has aged.
Yes, and I think it's ridiculous. Well, I wouldn't say ridiculous, but it's they're getting old, and a lot of people are now catching on to what Pep is his philosophy. His philosophy. So honestly, I think a lot of players, a lot of teams are now catching on. A lot of teams know that City has to get the ball, and it has to be in the middle. Once you cut the middle off, once you cut that ball going to Haaland, it's no coming back. Like, that's it. Once Haaland gets the ball, he has to get the ball. He can't. He's not an attacker that can come to the back and come to the midfield and dribble. He has to have the ball. He has to receive it up top, and once he receives it up top, he has to score. So I just think the midfield, everybody has now realized that what Pep's been doing all this time is now is that's it. And Kevin De Bruyne, like I said last week, Kevin De Bruyne, he's now back, yes, but he's been out. honestly, City is old for me. City is, and I think also off the stage as well. Let me just say this: I think off the stage, off the football field, that's it's starting to hit them. Apparently, I don't know how true it is that they got more charges added to this week or this
Yeah.
weekend. They got more charges added to them. Um, mind you, that the hearing should be over soon or very
Yeah, it's
shortly.
supposed to end soon. Yeah.
So I think that's all now getting to him. Honestly, I have to give that an excuse to them. It's like you got to be concentrating on something's got to be about the off the field that's messing you up in the on the field.
I think the message has gone around that if they are found guilty and get relegated, will these guys hang around? The guys that are on the final years of the contract, will they hang around or will they leave? So I think that discussion has already been had because you did hear a few people talking about it. So we'll just have to wait and see what that result is. I'm going to take a commercial break, but I want to ask you guys to think about this during the break to answer this when we come back. Pep Guardiola's response of late, do you think it's pure frustration, or he's never been in this position before, so this is his true colors showing up? We'll be right back.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
This holiday season, Lindo's is making shopping easier than ever. Introducing Drop It's fresh new website launching December 3rd. Shop your favorite Lindo's grocery online anywhere on the island and have them delivered right to your door. This year, stay fresh for the holidays with Drop It. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Beneath the cloud blue sky, where the ocean meets the land, and the long tail flight in Bermuda. Our hearts belong to this beautiful island. As an island, we are strong, proudly Bermudian. In every single way, from the sunrise to the sunset, and every single day for over 135 years. It's been clear, it's silence, proudly Bermudian. Bringing us near. Cause we are proudly Bermudian. Digital is proudly Bermudian. Digital is proudly Bermudian.
And welcome back. Well, right to you, Antoine. Is Pep showing his true colors, or is he just is it all new to him?
A little both. I really feel that it's getting to him. Like I said before the break, I feel that off the field it's getting to him. Off the field is getting to him, and it's getting to him, and it's frustrating. He just signed a contract and now signed a new contract, and now it's like, am I going to be coaching these teams in the Premiership, or am I going to be coaching them in a lower division? That's how I feel about Pat. I saw a video. I don't know how true it was. I saw a video of him getting it at with a media person. So I think it's frustrating.
Juggler?
Yeah, I mean, I probably agree with Antoine there. Frustration, obviously, he's human, right? So I'm pretty sure he's heard all the stories on and off the field or in the media. One thing about English media,
Relentless, me.
they will park outside your house every day.
They need to cut the grass.
I don't care. They will stay there. And so I'm pretty sure that has to affect just, but I believe in Pep there. I believe in him because he's been able to do it. Not only 1 year, 2 years. I mean, how many times has won the league in the last 7 years?
Yeah.
And then before that, how many times he won with Barcelona? Like, I mean, I believe in what the biggest, and I'll go back to what I said earlier. The squad that he has right now, it's just got his. Okay, let's think about it, right? I was even shocked the other day he made a change with the goalkeeper, Edison, right?
Yeah.
But when you look at people like Diaz, who's missed a few, right? Kyle Walker's only played 9 games, right? These are your main guys. Rico Lewis has been one of the youngster who's probably played the most games out of everybody in the Hill squad.
Yeah.
Kovacic has been out of the last few games. They need him. They're missing Fernandinho from last year, obviously. All right. When you look at Jack Grealish, he's only played 8 games, and he's came off the bench 7 times. So Bernardo Silva, once again, as an old player, he's played 17 matches today. So you look at the lineup of who they're trying to bring these young players, they haven't fired. Savinho hasn't fired. Doku hasn't really fired. Got 3 goals. So I believe it's going to take time, and I think Pep right now is probably we're used to him winning.
Yeah,
we're used to Man City 12, 13 points probably ahead of everybody, but talk about who's going to come second.
Right.
That's what it's been like the last few, but hey, I've seen. In saying all of that, they're not that far behind,
No, they're not. I was laughing because the pundit when they drew on the former Arsenal striker Paul Merson, declared that championship run was over. I'm saying we haven't reached December. We haven't reached Christmas yet.
But in the next breath, Paul Merson, who's a former Arsenal player, believes that Arsenal could make a run for it.
Yeah.
But Arsenal's only 2 points ahead of Man City. So now, which one is it now?
Yeah.
We're not even halfway during the season yet. We're a few games out from halfway during the season.
Yeah.
Slow down, buddy. Slow down.
Yeah, definitely. The stranger things have happened. Now, quickly jumping on to Manchester United. Coach has lost his first game at home. He inherited a out of form team who quickly got him a win in his first couple of games, but lost to a Nottingham Forest team who earlier this season beat a team Liverpool, and now have added United to the scout. Your thoughts on United's performance under the new coach over the last 4 games?
Right now, incomplete. If I was to do a report card right now, it'd be incomplete. One thing I can say, he's actually trying to give everybody, and I mean everybody. If Phil Jones was still on the bench, you'd probably give him a game too. Right? Thank God he's finally in the booth. Paying him too. But anyway, he's actually trying to give now. You would have thought against Arsenal, after coming off the convincing victory against Everton, we would have, had to try to stick with a 11 to try to go at Arsenal. But no, he shifted the team every match, and I guess the question would be, is he trying to get the team right for this year, or is trying to figure out who he can have for next year? The game the other day is keeper errors that turned the game.
Oh, definitely.
Obviously, the Nottingham Forest scouting, they saw the troubles United had with set pieces, corners from Arsenal.
Yeah.
They worked on that. They scored from that. But the other two girls, wow.
Yes. Many minor mistakes.
Yeah, and I mean, we think of Nottingham Forest over the last few years, like, okay, Nottingham Forest, but they are sitting in 5th place.
Yeah.
Not like it's Wolves
Right.
or Ipswich or something, right? They are sitting in 5th place. So
Yeah. Antoine, give me your evaluation of the new coach for Manchester United.
I really feel he still has some work to do. He still has some things to do. He still has to
Come closer to your mic.
He still has some work to do. He still has some work to do. He hasn't. Everybody hasn't grasped at his philosophy. So he's still there. He's still trying to take it in. The Portuguese league is different from the EPL. So, and it's got different players. So he's coming in. Not even halfway the season, and he's got a whole new team that he has to work with. So I still give him props. I still give him see what he can do. There's a lot of stuff that's going on with Manchester United. As you see, they fired the sporting director. So honestly, I don't know what's going on with Manchester United. I really don't understand, and that's my club.
Well, before we joined by David Bascom, quickly talk about the Chelsea-Tottenham game, because Chelsea are now only 4 points behind Liverpool, but Liverpool do have that game in hand. But they put themselves earlier in the season. A lot of people had written Chelsea off, but they've quietly marched up the table and are sitting in 2nd place.
I just think a lot of people think of Chelsea was probably a year away. The transition they went through last year, they basically had a young squad and just trying to teeter their way through the season. And I think people probably thought one more year under the same manager, a year more into the style that they want to play. There's probably about a year off. But right now, people like Cole Palmer, when you get a goal scorer, somebody who's scoring, even though he scored 2 penalties, when you get somebody who's scoring goals, it breeds confidence. Yep. Jackson breeding confidence. And even when Tottenham went up 2-0, it felt like it's okay. And what? And that's the part I have with Tottenham is you just don't know what team's going to show up on the day. Literally, like, just when you think they should be a top 4 team, it's like, okay, but next minute it's like
they show you why they're not.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, how did what? You know what? But no, Chelsea, they do have the momentum, and they're young. That's one thing I can say. They are young. They have a lot of guys on contract. So a lot of them should be there for quite a while, unless they get sent away. But have a lot, and that was remember that was the thing coming in. It's like, what do we do with all these players?
Yeah,
right. Yeah. But they have the coaches haven't found a way to unlock these guys, and so far, they've probably been the most surprising team of the year. I'm pretty sure the most surprising team of the first half.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're as I said at the top of the show, we're going to be joined by David Bascom, the Baltimore Blast head coach, after yesterday's performance defeating the Harrisburg Heat 8-6 in your season opener. First of all, welcome, David.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, congratulations on that first win. But a must win for you. You think you wanted to start the season off strong, didn't you?
Yeah. In this professional arena, you want to win every game. You want to win every game, and it was definitely a must win, especially a home game. I was just going through, I think the last 7 years, probably five seasons, we never won that opening game. We always struggled. Don't know what it was, but we had to break that yesterday.
Yeah, and obviously you've brought in a lot of new players, trying to get that team a little younger, a little faster, a lot fitter. Take us through what this off season's been like for you in preparing for this season and in Major Arena Soccer League.
Yeah, so there's a process right after the season. The first thing I had to do was go through an understanding, how do we win, right? How do we play? How do we win? As a professional coach, there's a great responsibility. Working without the norm of a general manager, now it's up to me. So what I done, had to break it down into 3 areas. One, the methodology, the structure. Did they meet the standards? Did they meet those guidelines? Was they able to learn with the learning tools I gave them? And these tools was based on their learning curve. So every time I have a player that comes in, before they come, the first thing I look at is that their educational background. I look at their social, okay, and then the talent. So that's where I get it from. So that was done first. The second part of this whole, before I go look for anybody, the style of play. What was my style of play? Did it work? How did teams beat us? Why didn't we win games? And then the last one is the executionists, the players who have to carry out the job. So once before I put my hand up and say I am a head coach, I go through all those accountabilities. And when I found that most of to all of the games, we wasn't the personnel, we wasn't able to complete tasks, finish chances. We was dominating, holding possession, executing chances. So that's where it started. So I made my list and I called it the spine. What players was meeting these needs. And when it came down to, then I'm looking at the performance, after talking to the performance coach, going through data. I realized I just don't have to go younger, and I can't be in a position to rebuild. So I'm reforming. You'll probably see this going on a lot with EPL teams. And in that reform, you got to be very mindful. Now, young clubs, franchises, they can throw out the word rebuild, right? But when young Baltimore Blast, there's a reform. How does reform work? I have to make sure that the veteran players who's still in that level of thinking of being competitive, want to win, and the younger players coming in that period of growth, right? So the players, I cannot look for just young players. It has to be talent. It has to be some maturity. So I went after the ages between 22 and 27. Means that played some professional experience, that understanding. So now I got my whole platform. Then what I done, I said, hold up. The indoor game, nobody's running to us, right? So I got a whole combines. I set up 4 combines in 4 locations where I know that the small-sided game and also a culture of football. Yeah. So Chicago, a feeding ground. Okay, so I held a combine in Chicago. I hired a player out there, one of my guys who break down our team. We don't want in New York. We also don't want in North Carolina and one in Florida. And with all intent of finding the players that I need before I can start releasing players. So I go through my model. I need 10 players, but 5 of the 10 have to be players that can be starters. Players that had to be good learners, students of the game, really understand and carry my integrity. So that's where it all started, Earl. And here we are, right? Here we are. There's a process. I know people don't understand much of the indoor game, but it's a very, very, you got to be really strategic, finding those type of players. And as it's professional, I have to be mindful. Our contracts run like the NFL. I can sign you today, cut you tomorrow. So there is not. It's a journey. I mean, you cut a player, it's very tough. You got to look at young men. It's over, right? So that's where it started, Earl. And after that, I start just skipping away. Started doing my classes, video board classes, breakdown. And then we got a 6-week preseason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, and you got to be really sharp. You have to be, right? And it's a hit and miss. It's a hit and miss.
Yeah. Juggler, you want to jump in?
Well, first things first, welcome, my good buddy. How's things going?
Everything's going well. I see you for a while.
Before we talk about the sport itself, I don't know how you can get these players fit when you're feeding them pizzas now. If you have a coach cooking up all these pizzas for them,
They're not eating that. That's the cooking show.
Man, I'm like, how is this man talking about fitness and his training and pepperoni and I don't eat bacon and this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking, well, these must be some cauliflower crust or something. No, the gluten-free crust. No. But anyway, I mean that's your cooking show, so I'm gonna leave that alone for another day, right? But David, just think about. I'm just thinking. I mean, you spoke a lot about the analytics on the side of how you formulate, get your players in, how you analyze them, how you assess them. But as a former player, and I'm gonna say this because we was just talking about Man City going to basically what you're talking about, reforming, or you want to say you don't want to say rebuilding anything because they have a culture of winning, same way as the Blast. But as a former player who gets up in age, and I'm looking at somebody like Gwendolyn, right? Even you in your later years, right? As a coach, you see somebody who's probably been a mainstay player for you for a while, and you know the potential because what they've done in the past.
Yeah,
they're on a high salary, but they might be having an off year. But they're coming to the new season. Do you want to hold on, just thinking last year was just a blip, or can they regain some of that youthful exuberance they had the previous year? And when you talk about these stats, sometimes can it be more of an eye test?
Yeah, went through that, and I know, and those are the toughest situations to be in. Let's look at some of the EPL players, some players that see. There's a difference. I was talking to a young man the other day, Man City fan. I said, try being a coach for a day and view from scope, right? Manchester United, all right, it's a team that I've adopted since the Red that was back in North Village. I get calls, man, what's going on? I said, breathe. Because and I tell them to breathe. I said, because number one is that Manchester United for me, and I'm going to get to what you're talking about, right? But it's all relative, okay? There's you look at the Liverpool, there's a character that's in the game, right? There's a way to play. There's a culture. So here's the confusing thing. And I'm getting on to what your question you asked. When you have $1 billion industry, yeah, and when you know that the CEO will not be there for the following year, right? And they've been playing a culture of football one way. How do you not on that side prepare somebody to take over this, right? Why we're getting all these band-aid now? Manchester United is trying to find the culture of football, the identity of how they play. So as a fan and you're watching and you're seeing ups and downs, I said, listen, don't get excited about the new coach because a culture has to be built into football. And it's not easy because you're asking him. Think about what I told you. My season was over. So when you start to look at and break it down, you got to understand what being a fan looks like when you're dealing with these transitions. So now let's get around to the player part. It's the same thing, Jason, right? You have to have a good understanding, knowing and forecast that this young man is 34. If I take the job at 34 and I sign him for 3 years, I know what I'm getting at 37. I must forecast his performance. You can't. Now it's a determination. If I hold him a part of my reform, is he a leader? Is he just an older player or is he a veteran? Right? Mm-hmm. Older players are still going to drive results and they're going to I have to play. No, sir. It looks different for you. And once you get that understanding, then you must make those decisions. Cristiano Ronaldo, you went through the same thing with Man U. People say, he should not laugh or he should have stayed. But what happened? They're still looking for results. So he probably didn't, but Manchester at the same time, still looking for culture of football, right? So that's what it looks like. Young man. And you start because they wouldn't leave on their own,
Mm-mm.
These players would not go on their own. But if you're exhausting something out of them, you got to have a plan for that player, knowing that what they're going to give you, right? And you got to be clear with them. But so you have to understand who are your reforming players that's going to help you to keep the integrity of the culture to help the team grow. And you have to make that strong decision, because that player will go somewhere else looking for results. But then it becomes down if it's a paycheck or if it's still a career, right?
Can I just sneak one more in for you? I'm thinking of somebody like Bill Belichick, right, in the NFL.
Yes.
He was known for getting rid of players a year too early, maybe. Does your philosophy fall in line with that?
Listen, it's a year too early for who? Is it a year too early for the fan? Right? I want you to think about this, right? Sustaining things and sustaining good behavior, sustaining a winning way, you have to make some of these hard decisions, right? You have to. And you have to live with them as a coach. And yes, the fan was probably angry, but when you're building a methodology and if your execution can't forecast what a coach does, sometimes you have to make those decisions. So I don't know inside the house of what he was forecasting, right? But some coaches have to take those licks. Yes, I took it when I started making some of these changes, and I'm going to take more, but I got to live with it. Oh, Bascom, you should have kept 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. Well, the fan will tell you that, right? Because the fan is still living from results. But when you're asking for something to be sustained, let's go through a list of Chicago Bulls, right? Look what happened there. Let's go through them, these dynasty. The Dallas Cowboys still trying to find their way. But when you make these decisions, they're all done. Now, if you're getting rid of players and not bringing players in, then that's where the judgment comes, right? That's where this judgment comes, right? And sometimes fans don't see young talent. They only see what's in front of them. So they don't see the growth. As coaches, we have to now forecast that young man in 2 years being exceptional. And that's what I'm had to do when I'm selecting players.
Yeah. Antoine, you want to jump in?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
No, I'm good. I'm just listening to, I want to say, a professor in football. So I'm happy. I don't have nothing. I really just enjoy when David Bascom has his little speeches. He breaks it down, like he said. Listen about Manchester United and everything. So honestly, go ahead, sir.
So David, let me ask you, in obviously the lead up to the game yesterday, going up against one of your former players, but helping the new players to understand what that culture that you have built into the Blast since you've been in charge, helping them understand it, your message to them before they ran out.
Yes, no, that's so important. And when we talk about culture, let me tell you the craziness of how this indoor. There's no standard of coaching. We don't have a UEFA license, right? You don't have a high indoor license to go to. So what I've done is that I've created this high level model based around education. So when I'm talking about culture and how you go into the classroom, right? That's what I'm learning all this. Social behavior. I just learned just last year and put it into my methodology and structure on speech therapy on how it helps getting points across, clearer identification, spatial awareness by using different things like a fruit. Crazy, right? So culture is seen, and the culture-related learning is crucial. So let's go through my 10 players. When I pick them based on the learning behavior, and do they have the temperament, the social aspect to handle the culture. So they walk into the classroom the first time. From day one, your language has to be spot on. Because my way of winning, how to win, how to play, it's all based around intentional defense, intentional offense, okay, for success, broken down into my 3 areas. when they hear the language over and over, it's a repetitive language, so the behavior starts there, day one. Now they're walking into the classroom, the training facility. The training facility, everything that's around the facility has posters up, banners up, based on where I want to guide them. That's the culturalative learning languages, zones. You see pictures of 9 zones. Perfection needs your attention. It's on the wall. You don't put up things on the wall that they know already, right? No, you put up things that you want them to see every day of learning. So that's as soon as they walk in, they're greeted with these messages. Now it's repetitive, right? The whole 5 days are broken up like a classroom. Yeah, a day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. This is processed through the whole season. Day 1, performance, strength work. Right after that, breaking out of the back, goalkeeper options on both sides, intentional offense and intentional defense. And the model goes continued on. So think about it. If I'm got you in a room for 5 weeks and you see zones for 5 weeks, but now I'm relating the zones to your everyday cultural living. Zone 1 is apple. Zone 2 is banana. Every time you see an apple, you're thinking zone 1, right? That's what I'm learned from speech therapy from, one of my, my content manager, Michaela, right? And I'm asking her these questions because I wanted to learn on how to get the message across, right? So crucial. So think about it. For 6 weeks, that's what they got. Repetitive, right? And then it falls into the structure repetitive. It falls into the discipline of play. And then we go break bread. You laughed about the cooking. What happens when you cook? They eat together. Now, when the coach is cooking and you cook meals for your players, little things like that go along. Yes, we can get catering, but why get catering when they understand and I can keep speaking on about that language? So that has what has happened. Behavior, right? A behavior. But you got to get the right players in. And yes, out of my 10 players, I'm probably going to cut 3, right? And then, but I got to keep searching. For it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue with Baltimore Blast head coach David Baskin. We'll be right back.
Over the pink sands, beneath the cloud blue sky, where the ocean meets the line, and the long tails fly in Bermuda. Our hearts belong to this beautiful island. As an island, we are strong, proudly Bermudian. In every single way, from the sunrise to the sunset. And every single day, for over 135 years, it's been clear, it's silence proudly Bermudian, bringing us near. Cause we are proudly Bermudian. This silence proudly Bermudian.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
This holiday season, we gather with grateful hearts to celebrate the gifts of family, friends, and faith. Lindo's is here to help you fill your home with warmth and joy, from traditional holiday dishes to festive treats that make every gathering special. However you celebrate, let's help make it memorable. Lindo's, Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Well, David, obviously, the questions have been about the coaching aspect, but now that the fans' expectation of fans for the Blast this season, I'm pretty sure you would have heard a lot of stuff behind you and from the sides of you as the game would have gone on yesterday. But what that expectation from the fans? What's your message to them?
You know, it's interesting, or that's an interesting question. And guess what? Because I had to teach them the same, right? Coach them to understand reforming, right? I'm not looking for any relief. And if we lose games, no, I'm letting them understand. I'm trying to give them the eye to think like a coach. So they're hearing the same language reforming. They're hearing the same process. They know the intent for this club, we want to win. So that's always the driven message. But it's interesting you say that, because I'm smiling, because I'm hearing this, coach, do this reforming. Yeah, I'm excited to see what we got, right? So that's crucial as coaches, right? Don't be afraid, because at the end of the day, if my process of winning and my execution with my intentional defense and offense through my three platforms doesn't work, right? Then I put my hand up as a coach. I always said, you wouldn't need to fire me. Coaches know, right? I just say hand up and I walk away. But I walk away knowing that I'm going to leave this club in good order. Because sometimes when you do a reform, you don't get a chance to see the outcome. You don't get a chance to enjoy it, right? I built something that every time we win, it becomes a proof of concept, yeah? And that's how I have to function as a leader, not just a coach.
Douglas?
Let's play a little game, David. How many games you played for Baltimore Blast in your playing days?
For the Blast, let me see. I came down there in 2002. Altogether, I played over 500, including Odie. I would say, it wasn't that much, but 100 plus.
117.
Yeah, 100 plus. Yeah, see?
How many girls? I think I thought a man like you who very a lot of attention to detail. I thought you would know these numbers.
It's been a lot of years in between. It's been
Now the goals that they probably have up are probably only, I would say, around, it's going to be between that 80, 90. But I would say is that I know altogether, all my goals is around 3 something, not including on the playoffs, that gets close to 480. But you won't find that on Wikipedia. Yeah, so you know you're watching the Wikipedia. You're on
I'm actually watching your site. Last site.
Now, listen, I tell you, and it's funny because like stats, now the coaching stats, I mean, the stuff I have to hold now, this data, but those numbers go. And you know what's interesting? Before I base a guy off of his, like if I get a striker, a target, remember they can change in 3s or 2s. I find a goal scorer. I find so the all 3 different types of players, right? So it's crazy on when I'm building this, knowing that I may not find that type of player. So I have to do a whole a team like this year. I want to increase my offense by 23%. Doesn't mean that I'm looking for a striker to score the goals, you know. So yeah, I got a lot of data running around my head, man. You want to games?
All right, so I'm gonna bring it back to you. Because you've been speaking a lot about the cultures and a lot about your players. But what have you learned from last season and trying to implement going into this season? You mentioned a bit about learning something from your speech therapist, trying to implement something through your culture. But what were some of the things that when you looked in the mirror and you say, you know what, I could have done this better, or I could have made the decision better, or I could have had a different training philosophy? What was something that you learned from last year that you're trying to correct this year, or even make it better?
Breathe. I'm learning to be patient. Here's what I've done. I am so comfortable in my skin. I had my other two coaches. I don't call them assistant coaches. Coach Sergio is our performance coach, and also Coach Neto. Neto handles all the phaser play drills. And what I've done, I asked them to evaluate me. I said, I need to be evaluated. Because I take myself hard. When I tell you I'm hard on my delivery, I'm hard. And I'm not easy on myself. I hold myself to fire every day. Every day. I'm watching that game last night 3 times already. And I not to take notes. I just go over it. I'm watching myself. I'm watching how I'm standing, my posture, if I've got everybody's attention. I'm watching the surroundings, right? I'm watching off the ball running, not the play on the ball. So when they evaluated me, they said, Coach, listen, we want you to have some patience. God, listen, Mr. Baisden, you've been to some of these training sessions, Mr. Baisden, and I know you're back there laughing, right?
I'm cracking up.
I cut a guy. I mean,
Listen,
this is game 1. Mr. Baisden, I think he was in the room.
I was there.
And anyway, I'm learning, or you could probably tell the story, but I don't want to. So I'm learning to be patient. I challenge myself every day to be number 1. But I also have to be patient as a leader when it comes to when everybody else is looking for those results. I also learned is that I have to not only teach myself how to self-regulate, I have to teach my players. And self-regulating when things don't go well, right? I have to be able to take the energy, the negative energy or the lack of growth energy and move it to a space. And it was huge with me. And what I was doing, I take it on. But the same energy I was giving when I was in that, you got to get this done. I'm not on my player because they may not be doing it. I'm on them because I know what can possibly happen to them if they don't. If they don't learn it. So I'm driving them to be better. I coach not only the game, I coach their life. Every one of my players, before they came in, I made sure that they had something. Don't sign with me. Don't talk money with me if you don't know what you're going to do in the next 5 years. I don't want to hear it, talent or not. And that's the interest I take in them. So they told me that let them breathe a little bit. My coaches told me breathe. They evaluated my psyche. And they said, listen, but then last night it didn't help me, right? Jason, last night, it didn't help me none. Like, and I called my father up after the game. He says, are you okay? I said, what happened? And I lose it. So if it's a referee call and I feel they don't know the rule, I ask a question first. Then I go to a space that I cannot recover from until after I get these yellows, right? And then I'm like, so Earl, I'm not going to talk about Earl. You can explain. It may look different from you. Earl sees me in a different light. He just shakes his head at me like I'm a madman. But I want to do right by my players because I give them all I got. All I got. So
I'm laughing because I'm pretty sure plenty of coaches go through what I've seen you go through in the change room, halftime, and things, and not you've practiced all week doing something, and it is clear as day that it should work in the game that you're playing, and clearly the players act as if they've never seen the drill before, and those fundamental things that you've worked on for 5-6 days just goes out the door, and it's got to be frustrating. And as a coach, you react to it, and you get a response from the players. But you need to breathe because
it's asking. Think about this. Okay, we're all on the panel. I'm here. I bet you just from the information, you probably come up with a few language words I'm saying, right?
Oh, yes.
You probably remember reform.
Yes.
Okay. You probably remember Apple or whichever, right? Think about it. I'm saying this repetitive. We're only on for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Think about getting this every day for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But then game time comes, you stare at me like, oh, coach. No, sir. No coach no more. Game over. Right? And because that is laziness. And I already done your background on how you function and learn. You have been cheating. So you must go do something else. You must go do something that's going to call for a better behavior. If not, this will follow you through your life. So I release a player in a short period of time. And I have to do it. And I have to. If not, it's going to do harm to the player. And then they're going to have, so the executionists to carry out order, they have to be spot on, because when I'm looking at my three pillars, right? And I go through my methodology. Methodology is the structure and system. See, this makes up an intentional success, intentional defense on how we're going to execute. Then I look at my style of play. That's my flow through rhythm. Then I look at my executionist. It's all the people carrying out order from my medical staff, everybody. So it's how I function. So if you're not able to process it, it's tough, right? And I have to make those decisions. And I'm sure, but just like in Bermuda, I know it's the amateur game, but if they don't like you, they're going to go somewhere else. Or they go somewhere else and hide. So what I've done this year, and I'm sorry, because you guys probably had enough of me, but what I've done is I've created this process called you are a puzzle piece, right? You are a puzzle piece. You walk through life as a puzzle piece, yeah? And when you walk through life, you have now inside of your puzzle, you have everything of your core that makes you up as a player and as a person. Now, you come to the Baltimore Blast as a puzzle piece. Now, as we go through this process, your puzzle, it doesn't say you're a bad player or bad person. Your puzzle piece just doesn't fit. So when I release a player, the language that they get from me is that it's okay. It just did not fit, because you have some ability mentally and physically to get you this far into my house. It's just not fitting. And we can't keep forcing it in. No, it's going to cause a stress and a behavior that you're not going to want. So the culture calls for allowing you the opportunity to take your puzzle piece and put it into somebody else's house, into the puzzle.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Mr. Bascom, I want to thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Hold up, bro. I got one more.
You got one more? Okay. Go ahead.
One more, Chris. This man is
This the corner of the puzzle.
Yeah. The other side of the puzzle, really. I mean, you talk so much about the team. You told us so much on your methodology. How did you rate your cheerleaders last night? How did they perform? How did the new girls come in? How they transitioned into the Baltimore Blast?
I should have known. Now I'm not getting this wrong. That's right. My boss is upstairs. She's not going to kill me. They done an excellent job. And they performed. They was doing the kicks and stuff and the rhythm. There's in line. So I'm letting you know.
They led the charge.
In case you decide that you want to send this to, the boss lady.
Yeah.
No. She is amazing. But here's the crazy thing, right? And that is it, right? The execution is the same thing, because I included into this process, right? And Liz has done an excellent job building a culture there as well. It's awesome, right? And that's what we're getting here. So we're really kind of sustaining this club all the way around, to answer your question.
Yeah.
Shout out to Liz. Hi, Liz.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for joining this evening on the English Football and Bermuda Overseas Players and Coaches Show. I will be back next week, Monday, with another edition. Good luck in your next game coming up, David. And hopefully we'll be joined by another overseas person next week, Monday night, to talk about their experiences thus far. So with that said, folks, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Pleasure.
Take it easy, guys.
All right.